Hello and welcome all the Web3 enthusiasts. This is Max speaking, and we continue bringing on the leaders of the industry for you guys to know more about the exciting projects that rule the landscape of the market and provide trends probably. Today, I'm excited to host this interview with George Isichos from Game7. Hello, George. How are you today?
Very good, Max. Thanks for having me.
Since it's your first time at Synopsis, could you please briefly introduce yourself for our viewers?
Absolutely. Yeah, my name is George. I'm a co-contributor for Game7, mainly spending my time with research projects like the one we're talking about today. I have been in the Web3 space, Web3 gaming specifically, since 2018. After my master's, I had the chance to try to explore how the reality of building a Web3 game. Of course, in a totally different world back then, like before OpenSea, before Axie, before the first wave of excitement, and before all this great development over the past years. Since then, I have been also working in the enterprise blockchain space. And before that, my background is within consulting. Um, with Game7, as I said, my main focus is around research. And yeah, I'm sure we will have the chance to talk more about this.
Well, thank you. So today I have a little bit more questions than usually. So let's get straight to the actions and
Perfect.
one by one. Well, to begin with, could you please introduce actually Game7 and what you guys do? And
Absolutely.
also, why do you do Web3 gaming reports actually?
Yes, happy to do that. Game7 aspires to be a gaming ecosystem that we can have both game developers and gamers win. Of course, it's a different definition on what wins mean in different contexts, but effectively, Game7 has been one of the largest Web3 gaming ecosystem over the past 3 years, with a range of initiatives from grants and investments to incubation of key infrastructure, parts of the Web3 gaming stack, to support of various games as they go to the market, both to their engineering, technical, and commercial needs. And we also have a very ambitious roadmap over the past for the past 6 months. You ask about the research. Why do we do research? I think research is a key component of Game7's DNA. And I would say it ties pretty well to two pillars. Number one is the realization that we don't have the answers, and the best way to get them is by talking to people, try to capture data, try to analyze, try to learn. And secondly is our focus to open source technology, to public goods, to contribution to the ecosystem. So we're doing research, of course. Research for us is an internal function to first drive our decisions, help us try to, understand the market timely, try to react, try to shape it. And at some point, we realized that this research is actually quite helpful for a wide set of audiences beyond the internal team. And we said, okay, we need to share this with the rest of the world. So our philosophy when it comes to research is not of commercial nature. That's why we can look the community in the eye and say this is unbiased research, because we are not sponsored by specific projects. We don't want to necessarily say a specific, create a specific view of the space or try to be biased. There are biases, as with any process in the world, I guess. But yeah, our focus is again on free, high quality, publicly available research that will help a wide set of stakeholders navigate the exciting Web3 gaming space.
Perfect. Thank you. So, good beginning, and let's continue a little bit more about this. So, the next question is, what criteria must a gaming project meet to be considered a Web3 gaming project in your report?
Yeah, this is a fundamental question we had to have an answer for, not today, but practically 2 years ago. Because we realized that while there are some very good efforts trying to capture and index a space, try to pretty much define even the basic what a game, what free game is question, we couldn't find robust, well-maintained databases that could really cover the whole Web3 gaming market. And that's why all the data you see, or to be fair, most, if not all data that you see and read on our report is the outcome of primary research, meaning we started by collecting manually, in most cases, data by scraping the web for the past 6, 7 years. Of course, using a set of technologies around AI, around RSS feeds, around tricky ways to capture the web, index the web, and try to bring this. Yeah, sorry, let me first answer your question. What the game is, it's what the Web3 game is, according to our methodology, is a game that uses at least some Web3 technology. We do understand there are many ways you can use Web3. You can have it even as a payment method to buy skins, or you can tokenize the skins, or you can tokenize characters, or you can put the whole state of the game on chain and do some very creative things. It doesn't matter. Our methodology tries to include all the games that either self-identify as Web3 games or they have showed specific level of technical integration with Web3 with different Web3 technologies.
Okay, see, so even if the game has an opportunity, provides an opportunity for gamers to make some purchases using crypto, so it might be counted as
Yes, we try a number of ways to filter out outcomes that might create a false image of the space, because many of these metrics can be biased again to show a specific pattern. It's important that you try to compare similar projects. There's no point into comparing just hackathon level projects with teams of 100 million. There is no point in making too many comparisons between different genres, between different platforms. It's important that you again you make fair comparisons that eventually would give you some insight. So what I can say is that while we try to collect everything, we both to our charts and to all our comparisons, we try to only compare things that made sense with each other. So while yes, if a game uses a payment method, we might have it on our records, it will not necessarily be reflected into all charts, because imagine what happens if you have one ecosystem with 1,000 games that are just using crypto payment rails, and you have another ecosystem with 20 super Web3 deep games. It would be unfair to just call a winner one or the other, because there are two different things. So yeah, we try to capture everything but make fair comparisons.
Okay, awesome, thank you. So the next question is pretty interesting for me, although at first glance it seemed like to be something evident, but then I started thinking deeper and actually came up with this. So how big is Web3 gaming within the whole gaming industry? So the second question is, does it develop following the gaming market patterns or crypto market cycles?
Yeah, this is actually a fantastic question. Um, yeah, okay, I will not say something new by saying it depends. Of course, it depends on how you look at it, but we can definitely we can try to put some logic behind this. So first of all, how big is Web3 gaming, right? There are various indicators to see this. You can track the adoption of end users, of gamers, which has a significant set of challenges today, unfortunately, because we tend to count games through wallets, and it's clear that while a wallet is a key component of the Web3 gaming reality, or the concept of an account in a sense, but we're not there yet to try to really distill between organic and non-organic activity from wallets. But yeah, we can count the growth of Web3 gaming ecosystem by looking into the active users and through wallets or other account metrics. We can see the number of game developers. We can see how many teams are building in Web3 or how many titles are being announced. This is the primary path we took, because we do believe it's easier to understand the growth of the market through companies instead of wallets that can be, again, with today's tools available, it's hard to really distill between organic and non-organic activity. You can also see the level of funding that is going to specifically Web3 gaming projects, not just projects that try to address so many use cases among gaming, because this can be misleading, but by looking into clearly Web3 gaming focused fundraising events, both for venture rounds or for funds that they will deploy to other companies. We can see token launches, we can see a number of factors. So again, it's a mix of factors we need to consider together if we want to answer the question how big it is or if it's growing or not. The answer it is growing, of course, but again, it's a bit more complicated than that. When it comes to your question about whether Web3 gaming grows individually or grows as Web3 grows, there are multiple ways to address this, and I will try to not necessarily give you my personal opinion, but give you the professional or a more research-oriented answer. That would be that we see strong correlation between interest to Web3 as a concept and Web3 gaming. Of course, the people building Web3 games, the people that have built some great ecosystems and projects are not people that are here because of the price of Bitcoin, right? But they tend to be people that were naturally excited about the prospects of decentralization, as reflected into the rise of Bitcoin, of Ethereum, and other smart contract platforms. So we tend definitely to see a correlation. But I think it's unfair to attribute the rise of blockchain gaming as a concept just to the rise of the price of Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Solana. It's deeper than that. We have people that are actually excited about blockchain gaming, about the prospect that decentralized technologies can bring to the gaming experience, even without the use of a token that goes up all the time, right? So it's both. Yes, the answer is obviously there is a strong correlation between market cycles and interest into sub-verticals like gaming, but the people that they spend their time, their life, and their businesses building Web3 gaming ecosystems are definitely here because of the technology, because of the promise that this technology can have to the future of gaming.
Well, thank you. So now we have some understanding of the scale or the market share probably and of how the correlation between cycles goes. So now I'd like to ask what are the top trending business models in Web3 gaming? So does play to earn still rule them all, and are Web3 games without player incentives viable?
Yeah, I think we all look into play to earn as an important part of Web3 gaming history. There is no point into understanding that something isn't working, but try to making it work. So I think all the teams, all the builders, both more experienced or new joiners in the space, they understand that play to earn is something we all have to learn from, especially its limitations and trade-offs. We all have to take into consideration when designing new ideas, and ideally not repeating the mistakes of the past. But I don't think that play to earn represents the business model. And to be fair, I don't think the business model for Web3 games doesn't exist. I would argue that finding a sustainable business model still remains the biggest challenge for Web3 games. It's not necessarily the technical difficulties of integrating on chain, picking the right chain, doing all these cool things on a decentralized platform. The biggest problem remains how to monetize, and how to monetize in a way that makes sense given the added complexity of adding blockchain inside your game. Last year we saw play to airdrop, which was inspired by many airdrops from the DeFi world, mainly an effort to try to eliminate this pressure, this inflationary pressure of play to earn to Web3 games by incentivizing people to actually have fun, play game, competing, winning, whatever the reason is you play games, to have some rewards that may have financial relevance or not. I think we saw some great progress. We saw some very interesting projects, like Pixels, like Pirate Nations, like Neon Heroes, a few other titles that tried to experiment, and it worked for them. But it also showed that there is still room for non-organic activity through bots to potentially influence the outcomes and the distribution of rewards, and eventually not rewarding the right layers or not incentivizing the right behavior. So I think last year we made it was a very nice opportunity to experiment and learn more from Play to Airdrop. Some things worked out, and they will be part of many user acquisition strategies for Web3 games for the next year. But I don't think anyone can really say, okay, we found the business model for the next 20 years. Now let's build 2 billion games. It's a bit more complicated than that. And it's also an opportunity for all the builders in the space for the next year, of course.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And of course, we all know where all this noise for the play to earn, tap to earn games is coming from. So, do you believe any other social media platform can replicate Telegram's success in Web3 gaming? And if yes, does it require running an in-house blockchain?
Okay, very interesting question. Very specific to this. Not so explored part of the Web3 gaming stack that Telegram brought into headlines. Of course, Telegram was definitely one of the key winners and key changes in the structure of the space, both from an infrastructure and from a user acquisition point of view, by introducing Telegram as a platform for publishing games, and also the underlying network, which is not required to be used with Telegram, but definitely, has some advantages for people doing so. I think it's important try to think, try to look into the history. We saw Facebook, we saw the Zynga growing because of Facebook. We saw, many other companies similar, bigger arguably than Telegram, trying to venture gaming. With short-term, mid-term successes, but overall long-term, they lost their appetite. And I think the biggest challenge for the concept of that of the notion Telegram becoming a key player in the Web3 gaming space is that what happens if other verticals other than gaming grow a lot. This would require Telegram to make a decision to either specify their services to cater Web3 users slash gamers or the rest of the world. And as long as Web3 gaming is not big enough to justify this move, this can be tricky. That's why we saw Telegram also focusing on games, with Web3 being an addition to that, not necessarily the only thing in the world. So yeah, back to your question, we have already seen more companies that they have a social app trying to use the distribution power to spin up ecosystems. We saw this with Facebook. We did in the Web3 world beyond Telegram. We also have seen efforts by more Web3 native efforts like Farcaster, of course, different sizes, yet an important thing to keep note of. We also seen the Gaia team from Lime, I believe, with the Lime app, which have a similar story to Telegram, a similar growth model. You're using an existing distribution community to potentially create new ecosystems for games and applications on top of the app. So yeah, I do think yes, overall we're gonna move towards the super app model of WeChat that Telegram and other applications would like to play. Underlying blockchain, I don't think it's a requirement. If you have distribution, it makes sense to also have an environment that you can control and you can optimize to your needs and you can potentially monetize. I think this is a natural next step. So I think it's a good idea all the time. Once you have a significant user base, you should ideally have the space to monetize those. But I wouldn't call it a requirement given, as we're having more chains, as the process of creating chains becomes easier, we can deploy as many chains as you want. This will not necessarily solve problems by itself. It's other things that need to happen on each environment to make running your own chain worth it.
Got it. Thank you. So, and for the devs part, so what infrastructure is the most popular among Web3 games? If we are not mistaken, Polygon is not favored anymore. How did it happen?
Oh, you're referring to change then? Okay, we're gonna approach the blockchain environment, the blockchain competitive landscape in two ways. Number one, by looking into specific chains, like Polygon POS, as you said, like Immutable X in the past, Immutable ZKVM, version 1, Base Solana, which would describe specific networks that games would like to use for their games. Or we can also see the another field of competition, which is on the blockchain infrastructure, on the blockchain framework, practically, which means the set of tools that allow any developer, any team deploy their own customized environments. Starting with the chains itself, indeed, we saw some consolidation for all the big chains of last year compared to today. We saw, less games on Polygon POS, less games on Binance. We saw Solana to remain at the same levels, despite a significant growth in terms of mindshare of the community. And we saw the rise in popularity of gaming specialized networks. Immutable was able to capitalize big part of this growth, mainly from Polygon, as you said. Despite staying within the Polygon CDK ecosystem, this is a totally different network than the Polygon POS. Arbitrum definitely capitalized on this trend, alongside with Avalanche, with Optimism, the wider OpenStack ecosystem, by allowing change developers, game developers, or other developers to deploy their own environment. So the key trends, I think, is from general purpose chain to gaming specific chains, and from the idea of the single chain to exist to many people having the chance to deploy their own customized environments. I think these two key trends could explain the numbers, the competitive numbers we saw in the report.
Awesome, pretty detailed. So thank you. And moving on, actually, in 99% of our interviews, I would say, it always comes to mentioning at least regulations. This time is a bit different because it comes from our side. So actually, we see that most developer teams come from the US, despite the fact that crypto regulations are tough there. So do regulations affect Web3 gaming much?
Absolutely. Yes, I definitely think so. Yes. Just to give some context to the audience, the US historically has been the largest Web3 gaming hub the Web3 gaming hub for development teams, meaning that most of the Web3 games, if we're looking into country data, most of them will be in the US. I think this hasn't changed for the past 6 years. If we abstract to the region level, yes, APAC remains the most important part of the world, with a smaller difference than last year. So we see the gap is closing. There are two ways to explain this. And of course, Asia and the APAC region remains a key market for gaming overall, not only Web3, but also, with Korea, Japan, and many other, China also having many great development teams. These markets remain key for Web3 gaming, but I think the US is clearly in an advanced position. Now, one could spot the paradox. How can it be that we all complain, quote unquote, about the US regulations and most teams are being there? I think we have to see into the very experimentative nature of building Web3 games. We're still early, right? We haven't seen thousands of successful Web3 games being built, so we can tap on this on their success. So overall, we look for environments with increased appetite of investors to deploy capital, with people willing to take risks. So as you can see, both the Bay Area or other hubs across the US would be a fantastic choice for bold teams to try to venture into this very interesting space of building Web3 games. Now, when it comes to commercializing games, when it comes to using all the different opportunities, when it comes to launching tokens, when it comes to try to understand the limits of regulatory frameworks, this is where it becomes tricky for US teams. And there are many teams that, the main concern is not that they cannot do something, is that they don't know if they can do something. And they don't know if by doing something now, they might have troubles over the next years. So lack of clarity is the key word. There's obviously some optimism in the market with the US elections that this would bring a more positive and more clear framework for US companies that till today they had to consider alternatives when it comes to how to launch tokens or any other financial instruments for the games. So yeah, I can do a personal prediction here that if the environment for the regulatory environment becomes, I wouldn't say necessarily better, but more stable, we will definitely see the closing the gap between APAC and the North America regions, and the US will actually increase the lead. While there are so many companies in Asia right now experimenting with tokens, there are also so many teams that they want to make in the US that they want to make the jump to Web3, and they are afraid that whatever they can achieve, whatever business model innovation or technical enhancements they can achieve, all this will go away because of the lack of clarity that will also put struggles into how to commercialize their games. So yeah, we definitely are optimistic we're going to see strong growth for the US over the past 1-2 years, if the current feeling of the market, the sentiment, the assumptions of the market about a more friendlier regulatory environment for Web3 games proves to be true.
Well, glad to hear that optimism in your words, and we'll do hope for the best. And actually, never knew that regulations affect Web3 gaming that much.
Yeah.
Now, so this leads us to the next question. Actually, might be a big one. But besides regulations, what are the top hurdles Web3 game projects, gamers, and actually investors in Web3 games face?
Of course, yeah. We talked about this a bit earlier. So identifying the business model, identifying a sustainable way that you can monetize and grow a gaming world still remains an issue, right? It's true that Web3, the implementation of Web3 technology inside blockchain games opens up so many opportunities, right? And I think we should all accept that the biggest opportunity is that we don't know it yet, and tomorrow we might come up with something that might change the rules of the game. So I think looking into business models, looking into how to make money through Web3 games, we all know that there are creative ways, but I don't think necessarily anyone has solved this puzzle in a definitive way. If we look into the number of game launches, if we look into investments, while again, they might come up and down, they might normalize to different levels than the previous bull market. But from my interaction with investors, I think investors are here to invest. Investors want to invest, but also investors would like to bet on something new. They would like to allow teams to try to go after new business models that have the chance to really change the rules of the game and not just marginally improve the status quo. And this is a deeper problem. And I think, you asked me all the problems, and now what I'm presenting is a set of interconnected challenges that they are attached to each other. So first, you have a stagnation of business model innovation. Number two, you have investors that they want to invest, but they can't really find the teams that they can really try something new, something radical, with a few exceptions, of course, every year. You also have many teams that they still face development and integration challenges. We have a chart on the report that shows that even to the most popular gaming ecosystems, and I don't think it makes sense for me to make it personal to any chain. This is a universal challenge. We still don't have a significant number. There's still a big discrepancy between how many games are announced and how many games have actually showed playable content. And out of those, how many they have a Web3 experience inside this content, because it's one thing to talk about a game. It's one thing to allow people to experience an alpha version of it, how it will be. And totally different if you have a live economy where I can use my assets, I can use tokens, I can use Web3 technology inside a game in any way that game designer decided. So third big challenge, the lack of playable games. And this is not, strictly speaking, a technical issue. It also turns out to be an issue when it comes to, it's a learning issue. It's a learning challenge. Without many playable games, without many active Web3 economies, it's very hard for the space to learn faster. It's very hard for the space to iterate, to understand what's working and what's not. And I can say this, imagine the world if we had 20 off the grid kind of launches. It doesn't matter if they're as successful or as ambitious. Imagine if we had 20 off the grids per year. Imagine how many things we would have been able to understand, to measure, to see what's working, what's not working. So low number of playable games means a lower capacity for the whole ecosystem to learn and be better faster.
Okay, another detailed answer. Thank you. So, of course, we have to talk a bit, or maybe not a bit, about the trends. So, the next question is, what are the main trends in Web3 gaming for 2024? And your opinion, you also mentioned some of your predictions before. So, what will be different in 2025 and even beyond?
Yeah. I would start with, again, a realization that it's very hard to predict what's going to happen, in the same way that 12 months ago, if you were asking me the same question, I would have said play to airdrop or Telegram or off the grid. I might have said that, off the grid is a cool game, and we might have talked about high level developments, but it's very hard to try to really nail down what's going to happen. I'm not saying this to avoid answering the question. It's more about understanding the limitation of prediction, and we just need to follow what's moving and what's most promising. So looking into next year, of course, we definitely see Telegram remaining to be one of the key trends. Now, with Telegram, we refer to two things. We refer to the application as a distribution platform for game developers, or to the network that can be used, run by the Telegram team. And these two are different. So the chain itself can, make use of all the network effects from the application, but I think the application itself has the potential to shape the world in an even bigger way, because as long as Google and Apple and other big distribution players are not super Web3 friendly, or they're not super clear with their intentions on how to monetize Web3 game developers, I think Telegram will continue to represent a very interesting alternative. And as we wrote in the report, we don't see Telegram as, the place to migrate your game from another platform. It's more about complementary experiences. It's more about ways to engage with a very Web3 native and friendly audience. that appreciates the mobile first experience that Telegram can bring, and also will appreciate a more Web3 friendly infrastructure for game developers. So yeah, we're definitely going to see more games launching on Telegram for a number of reasons: technical sometimes, business sometimes, speculation driven sometimes. It doesn't matter. We're going to see definitely more games pitching Telegram. I think we're gonna try to see many teams potentially timing the market and trying to launch, try to have an off-the-grid level of going live with excitement, with big campaigns over the past year, over the next year, sorry. So yeah, many teams would like to make use of this relatively stable and optimistic part of for our market, and try to launch games, try to really establish themselves as key launches for the year. One area that is definitely a massive driver for the space, but is not covered in the report because it's not reflected to last year's data, is the area of AI agents and AI agent implication in gaming. We saw the interest, sometimes again driven by token speculation, sometimes driven by interest in this new technology on what happens if you empower with autonomy AI solutions to, specify how they work and give them a task or expect them to learn from themselves and try again to do something. This something can be today become a Twitter persona or becoming your internet friend or having a specific character on social media or maybe play your game or maybe play against you in your game or help you in your game. So I think there's a massive space, a massive playground for innovation when it comes to AI agent implementation in gaming. We're still very early, and the technical challenges are huge because gaming is not as simple as, understanding social media, for example. But yeah, it's something we both hear from the market as interesting, and we definitely expect from a technical point of view to be something that will invite significant both capital and attention. Other than that, I think the macro environment will definitely continue to be a key force for gaming. The macro environment can have a significant implication to the appetite for Web3 apps across any vertical, number one, to the funds available to the funds available for Web3 investments, to token launches. So the macro regulatory environment, the macro environment overall can have a massive impact to key indicators for Web3 gaming. Yeah, and I think this could give a good summary of the key developments. Again, Telegram and AI are things that they can play out in so many different ways, but definitely what people should keep an eye on.
Awesome. So sounds pretty optimistic, and I also do think that 2025 will be another big year for Web3 and for Web3 gaming segment, of course. And this will be, in general, also a great contribution for the mass adoption everyone is discussing recently. Okay, so we're getting closer to the end. So I have two questions left, one of our traditional, and before that, a pretty common one, but a little bit more narrow. So we mentioned many valuable things today, and some kind of a summary maybe. So in your opinion, George, what is a Web3 games recipe to success?
Is this for game developers, I assume, right?
Yeah, I think mostly yes.
Actually, yeah, it's a very broad question. I will try to address it mainly for game developers as the
Yeah,
ones
kind
that
of some
eventually need to.
piece of
Yeah,
advice from an expert for the developers.
yeah. I think we can try to abstract key learnings from this process over the past close to 5-6 years now. Overall, game genres matter. Not every game, at least at this point of understanding of the space, is a great match for Web3. So while over the past years we had this obsession with AAA or with MMO style or with very ambitious project titles, which we can all agree they would be amazing if they were Web3 games. We have seen a new wave of developers trying to, in a more pragmatic sense, try to really pick a game genre in overall a gaming environment that suits well with the reality of Web3 gaming economy and infrastructure today. So picking the right type of game as reflected into genres platform is important. Imagine if you want to build a AAA game on mobile for Web3. So you're building something that does not have distribution access to millions of users, but it will take 7 years to be developed. And in 7 years, crypto might have changed 1,000 times. So in this sense, understanding the strategic opportunities and limitations of Web3 gaming is key for developers to build the right experiences. Also understanding that no matter how well your plan is, it will have to change, especially from a technical point of view, many, many times, right? If you had the most knowledgeable people when it comes to Web3 infrastructure here for the past 5 years, and you ask him or her what's going to be the best type of blockchain, I'm sure over the past 5, 6 years, you would have 5 different answers. Like back then, it might have been Bitcoin or Ethereum. Now we say layer 2s, layer 3s. Then I might say Solana or Sui. Tomorrow might say based rollups, optimistic, ZK. My point is not to argue about what is the best, but to point out that the pace of technical innovation is bigger than what the typical gamer can absorb, and game developers need to be prepared for that. And lastly, I think one of the things that Off the Grid learned us is that gameplay is important. And when we say gameplay, we should not refer to a high fidelity AAA environment, right? I'm sure many people have had the time of their life playing not AAA, but very small indie games. So game quality, game experience, and game fidelity are totally different things. But I think we can all learn from Off the Grid that having a fun game, however each of us defines fun, it's important. And having a fun game can help your audience sometimes oversee some complexities that might exist. So right now, people they don't really want to explore the use of NFTs on tokens or anything. Because the team did a good job trying to hide this experience, yes. But most importantly, because people play the game because it's fun. And yes, potentially I might be able to capitalize on my success, on my luck, on everything inside the game. But eventually you play the game because it's fun and because you're gonna have fun, you're gonna be excited, you're gonna whatever drives you as an individual, that should remain the key thing. So yeah, these would be the 3 points I would advise game developers to focus on, or at least try to take into consideration while deciding what to do when entering this space.
Thank you. I think it's super valuable both for those who are just dreaming or planning to start some Web3 project, Web3 gaming project, or even for
Absolutely.
those who are already doing this. So, guys, I do hope that you are making notes, and I do believe that in our audience there is a certain segment of builders and developers. So, yeah, thank you, George. And the last traditional question, this might be also addressed to developers or some general one, universal. So could you please share some piece of advice for the viewers of Synopsis? It might not be connected even to Web3, but Web3 games, but I think something like this. Maybe some trends to keep an eye on, some wishes, whatever you find useful and valuable.
Absolutely. I will repeat myself for a bit. I think the area of AI agents appears to have significant potential. People should not necessarily try to think existing tokens or existing speculative efforts as the only way, but I think it's one of these moments where once you realize that the massive potential that the implementation of these technologies could have into gaming, it really blows your mind, and it goes beyond the boundaries of Web3, right? Web3 can be a key component into making AI agents potentially more interesting or more autonomous or more whatever the quality we try to optimize for is. But it's definitely an area of significant innovation, and keeping an eye on this is important. And one last comment on, overall, whatever you try to do, because back to my point, the pace of technical innovation, the trends that are changing, the market might be up 100x or 100x below tomorrow morning. I think it's important to have conviction. It's fine to fail, but just pick something that you believe that it has a market, it is the future, and you have a reason to be better than X% of the market, and really try to support this regardless of what's happening in the market. I think conviction pays well. And we have seen so many teams, for example, in the gaming space, to really try to build something for many years, even though they have pivoted so many times, they are alive and they have an actual edge compared to teams that they would just enter or exit the market because Web3 is cool or not in mainstream media. So I would advise to people, there is no the right way to see the world. There is not the right product to build on. Everything can be right or wrong depending on circumstances, but having conviction to what you do, I think, is key to survive, pivot, and being able to really capitalize on the big opportunities whenever these come.
Oh, thank you. So I like this kind of philosophical and motivational approach you put here. So, and yeah, that's it for today. I believe it was a very valuable and insightful discussion for our viewers. For me, it was such for sure. So thank you very much, George, for joining in, and we hope to see you in more episodes in the future. So guys, thumbs up to see George in more episodes. And yeah, thanks for everyone for watching us till the end. Stay tuned. Take care. Put notes on the advices our guests provide. So thanks for everyone. Thanks, George, once again.
Thank you, Max.